With the info that Arsenal are finally making moves in the transfer window, it is finally time to try and conquer the biggest part of the team, that being the midfield. Now, there has been a lot of different players rumoured, and I have gone through a lot on this channel. But the more the window goes on, we are still in the dark about what Arsenal want to do. But today we're going to look at Mikel Merino and why he could be a brilliant fit for that midfield position for Arsenal and could be a player that Arteta looks at this summer. Let's get into it. Now, straight away, Mikel Merino may seem like a weird shout for people that know this guy. He obviously played for Newcastle many years ago and was not very successful. And after the rumours that Arsenal will not be getting Woklzbusiness this summer, we are going to apparently go in for this other Real Sociedad midfielder. Now, this doesn't take away from anything that Merino is. He has been brilliant for Real Sociedad over the last few years, and at the age of 28 has firmly cemented his place within that good side. More recently, he also scored the winning goal for Spain against Germany in the quarterfinals, scoring a brilliant header coming off the bench, and has been great coming off the bench throughout the whole tournament. And considering there is recent rumours that Arteta is very interested in this player, and it has been reported that Real Sociedad would only require around 30 million euros, about 25 million pounds, to let this guy leave, it's definitely a transfer I think Arsenal are interested in, and I think you could see happen later on in the market. Now, Mikel Merino is definitely a functional 8. He plays majority as a central midfielder, being in the middle of the park, but has really stood out for his defensive work, which I'm going to recommend he would play in this team for Arsenal, but he can play a hybrid role as a 6 or an 8. And for Real Sociedad, he plays in front of Woklzbusiness, who's obviously linked with Arsenal before. Merino is also a very physical player, being very good at most of the defensive stats that you will see. For Real Sociedad, he usually plays next to Woklzbusiness, so he isn't necessarily the best passer, but he has shown a brilliant level at tactical discipline and defensive qualities. And last season, he was actually very impressive throughout midfielders in Europe for his defensive stats. He was getting around 2.6 tackles per 90 and winning about 1.5 per 90, and being very prevalent all around the pitch. In the defensive third, having around 1 tackle per 90, in the midfield having a bit over 1, but more importantly, I think having around 0.6 tackles in the attacking third, which is actually in the top 2% of midfielders in Europe. Now, what these stats show is that he is very good when the team don't have the ball. When they lose it, Real Sociedad anywhere on the pitch, but especially high up, so in their final third when they're attacking, he is usually close enough to react quicker and make a decent tackle, winning the ball back quite a lot. He shows necessary aggression on the left or right side and can help win the ball back and pen teams in. And while he can also do it if the other team are on the break, and he's got great tackle numbers generally, I love the attacking third potential with this guy, and I think it allows Arsenal, whoever has him like Real Sociedad, to have more control on the game. And having someone very aggressive like this when the team don't have the ball is very good at getting the ball a lot more and keeping possession within the team. Real Sociedad were the 23rd highest team with the most possession last year, and were only on average having around a 55% possession per game, only 3 behind Arsenal's at 58, who's sitting 14th. This means he'll be used to a similar style of where the team want to keep the ball in a majority of their games and be very aware at trying to win the ball back. And his other defensive stats, such as 2 clearances per 90 and around 3.5 tackles plus interceptions, show that he's got a really good level at trying to win the ball back and being very successful at it. He's definitely someone which is a more physical tackler, loves going into a tackle rather than necessarily picking up interceptions like you might see Declan Rice do, but they can still be very useful in different metrics, especially alongside Rice anyway. And since Rice has moved into that 8 role, I think Arsenal want to stick with that this season to at least the best they can. I think there's better 6s on the market, and I think Arsenal feel like that's probably the best way to make the team better right now. And I feel like Merino fills in them situations where Rice may not be the best. For instance, Rice makes around 4 to 5 ball recoveries per 90, now a very good level, and with him playing further forward in the last 4 to 5 months, it's obviously going to be a little bit less. But with Merino at a whopping 7.3 ball recoveries per 90 in the top 7% in Europe, and being able to draw around 2 fouls per 90, he's doing a great job at picking the loose balls up and running with it to get fouls for the team. This could help us ease some pressure, and it's a great to have a defensive minded player that's going to be like like that, especially defensively, but playing in that 8 role, he needs to be very good going forward as well, and I would call him a very good facilitator. He's very good at doing quick little passes to get the team ongoing, while not having the most involvement out of any players in the midfield, which is completely fine in a team full of Rice and Odegaard. If you actually compare his passes to Declan Rice last season, he's doing a lot less in all metrics, but when it comes to sideways passes, he is doing nearly a half less than him and nearly doing as much as he is forward and backwards. This is showing that he definitely has the adaptability to be good in games, and he knows that he wants to keep going forward, so he could definitely make Arsenal's left hand side a lot better. There's also one key reason why I think Arteta likes this player, and it comes down to aerials and duels, and we all know that Arteta is someone that really takes duel battles very seriously. It's something he has put into all of his players in his team, and it's something he looks at very much when he looks at players. This is why we've been linked to Amadou Onana, who's obviously a big aerial and dual monster, and he wants a big physical team to go around with that. And at 6'2", Merino does fit that category, and even more and importantly, he is winning around 6 aerials per game, which puts him in the top 1% in Europe for aerials won, and he's losing around 4 per game as well, which puts him in the bottom 1% for loss. But this means he is winning around 60% of his aerials on average, and he is getting into a lot per game. You don't see many players on average getting around 10 duels per game, and he's winning 6 of them. I think just for the sheer amount of duels he gets into, and he's winning majority more than he loses, is something that Arteta loves. This guy is clearly very dominant in the air. We've seen how good he is at heading the ball, and he's also a brilliant physical tackler as well. And even last season when Granit Xhaka left Arsenal obviously have been needing a replacement, and a lot of people have wanted Merino to be that guy. He does play a little bit like Xhaka and can have a lot of similarities to him. Obviously the duels is something that Xhaka was very good at as well, but he isn't really a carrier like Xhaka or Rice. If he was to play in that left centre mid spot, he doesn't really like bringing the ball up with himself, and he is more of an 8 who likes the left side of the pitch, who is left footed, which is very important for Arsenal's progression down there. And I don't think he would be an integral part for the team, but I think it shows good improvement and hopefully more engagement with the left winger, so we can get Martinelli on the ball more. And he did start often with Odegaard in the 2019-2020 season, so he'll be used to playing alongside him. Although he does have quite a decent involvement around the game and even gets around 3 touches in the attack and penalty area, which is quite a lot for his position, he only gets around 50% passes attempted and around a 76% completion rate. And this could be because he's trying harder passes all the time, which is definitely something to consider, but that passing level is nothing like any of Arsenal's players is, and I don't think he would be able to carry the ball up prolifically from the midfield, getting our attack in good position. However, there is certain potentials with some of the things he does. His progressive passes around 6 per game, which is getting there, and he's successful in 1 take on per 90, and he actually has quite a good successful take on rate overall. So he has the potential to go past players and have a bit of acceleration, but I think with his defensive stats being very encouraging and very good, Arsenal may want to move him into that 6 role rather than the 8. But that doesn't mean he can't do it. I think he can definitely be a hybrid player that could switch with Rice either in-game or in different situations, which I think maybe is what Arsenal are trying to get, because he does have decent attacking stats at 0.2 non-penalty goals per 90 and a 0.16 expected and a 0.12 assist. Now, while I would say his attacking stats are definitely above average, they're definitely not the most encouraging things in the world, especially for a brilliant attacking team like Real Sociedad. However, he does fill in and just plop things along. He's someone that gets into really good positions and can make really decisive and brilliant passes just outside the box. Him being left-footed as well makes it a lot more balanced with the left side, and he's always trying to go forward, showing a brilliant passing ability with some brilliant passes last year, despite him not having the best stats there. And with his brilliant defensive stats, I think you could always put him in the 6 if you need to, or you can move into a more defensive situation if you need to hold out for a lead, so he doesn't need to keep going forward. But I do think it would help the balance more than him necessarily being that class player that you were expecting. Last season in La Liga, he got 8 goals and 5 assists in all competitions. That's a pretty decent output for someone playing so deep as he was in 8 role, and I think it definitely gives Arsenal more versatility in midfield to play different players, where they can play Jorginho sometimes, and Merino can switch with Rice in-game if things aren't necessarily working out. If you need a bit more of a progressive runner, you can put Rice in there in some games, but if you need a bit more of a passer, a player that's going to put his head up and think about where he's going to do, you could put Merino in there, who's still gets forward in good areas. Now, someone that offers a bit of versatility right now, considering the midfield market is pretty expensive, could be a brilliant option, and at his cheap price of 25 mil, and he is 28 years old, so you could just play him for a couple of years, could be a brilliant player to get in. Now, if he was to sign for Arsenal, I would still expect Arsenal to buy another midfielder because we have money to spend, and I don't think this solves it completely. And a signing like this really reminds me of when Arsenal signed Leandro Trossard. It was seen as a good market opportunity, which we know Arsenal are always looking at, and it was around £28 million. This would be around the same amount of money. He's around the same age as Trossard when he joins at 28, and I think he'll be a good squad player, a good cog in the machine to keep us going and help our balance in certain games. Now, I don't think it completely solves everything, and I don't think he's going to be the only midfielder we sign, but it could be a cheap option which ultimately replaces Partey, which he is probably going to leave this summer. It's a little bit of a risk. He obviously didn't work in England before, and if we are going to move him into that 6 role where he has been playing as an 8, it might not suit him, even though I think with his physicality levels and his raw defensive stats, I think he should be fine there. Let me know in the comments if you think Arsenal should buy him, or do you think there's other options in the market. Now, unfortunately, it seems like people like Fofana are probably not going to be gettable, so we are running out of options slowly, but I believe the club are doing something that we don't know about, and it could be Merino with someone else. We'll have to see. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.